folks, how's it going? Today I am doing something a little bit different for this channel, and I am talking about a setting that has been published. I was prompted to try something a little bit different because I was sent a setting to review. So I hope you will find this to be interesting, and let me know if you would like me to review more pre-written settings or campaigns for different systems. I'd like to say a big thank you to the lovely folks who sent me this setting as well. Today we are talking about All Must Bow, a system-agnostic setting of cosmic horror. Since these people were very kind enough to send this all the way to Australia, let's jump right in and see what it's about. The setting and backdrop makes up a significant portion of this book, but today I hope I can cover some key elements. Players in this world will be creating characters that worship a dreadful ancient thing. These ancients are Lovecraftian-esque space-dwelling monstrosities. The players in this universe may be willing followers, or they may be enthralled by these ancient entities. All Must Bow is a science fiction setting that leans into a lot of horror elements. We know the genre generally as space horror. Stories set in this universe can take place across vast galaxies or on one tiny planet in the universe. Of course, for these ancients, vast space is of little consequence to their goals. All they want is to find other living entities to exploit and feed off of. These ancients feed off of an energy that is produced by living intelligent beings. This is called consciousness energy. This is what the ancients need to survive and thrive in this environment, and they are willing to do whatever it takes to get their hands or tentacles on as much of it as they can. There's a lot of flexibility to this world. There's room for all sorts of technology, magic, psychic powers. There's a lot you can play with. Not only do you get some options for ancients to include in your game, you also get examples of aliens that might reside in the galaxies of your world. I really like how uncanny and insect-like a lot of these aliens were. I really hope I've painted in broad strokes what this setting is about. There's a lot of room for adaptation and changing it to tailor it to whatever your campaign needs. While All Must Bow is a setting and not a game system unto itself, they have a lot of very helpful suggestions on what different game systems might work for this universe. I think wisely they've chosen to focus on some of the most well-known systems out there in the tabletop role-playing game world. For example, Fate, Genesis, and Mothership are the top sort of 3 picks they have for popular systems that would really work for the All Must Bow world. While very popular, the writers of this system mention 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons and Powered by the Apocalypse as 2 systems that they found didn't really work for this setting. It is still possible to use these systems, of course. The authors just acknowledge that it requires a bit more adaptation and shifting of various mechanics and parts to get it to really flow. They also include suggestions for using this setting to create a solo journaling game. One process to play in this universe that they do cover is character creation. Most of the mechanical crunch is left to the system that this universe will use, but they do go over some character backdrop details that I think are really helpful. They're trying to cover the character's story and background. They must decide what kind of entity to follow, what species they are, their homeworld, and their personal history as a conduit. Being a conduit for an ancient is a very exhausting and harsh process on the body. So this section is about how well their character has coped with it so far. They also mention you should definitely write down or include any features or traits being a conduit for your specific entity entails. Are there any boons that are granted so that you can gain more conscious energy for your entity? A significant portion of this book is covering the why of this universe. Why would you want to play in a universe where your character is going to be helping an evil force? Also, what does space mean to us? And why is it adept for telling these sort of stories specifically? The creators have included their thoughts on why they wish to play in a world like this one. For them, it's about gaining catharsis through an exploration of what evil means. It's not about enjoying being evil for evil's sake. It is written into the setting of this world that the people that follow this villainous path will have to face the consequences of their actions eventually, sooner or later. This is a setting that explores how a character's story unfolds. I have to mention that the art of this book is incredibly stunning. The interior of the book is all done in black and white illustrations with a lot of negative space used. There's a lot of really striking scenes. I'm also particularly a fan of their choice to create some example ancients and put them on these really cool cards that live in this envelope in the book. I really love it when tabletop role-playing games include little envelopes or things you can pull out in the book. I think it really triggers the same part of my brain that enjoyed those dragonology and wizardology books as a kid. It just makes it feel like a piece of hidden treasure. Also, at the beginning of each chapter in this setting, there's a small micro story that's included. A lot of these are really interesting and evocative for the genre of space horror. Obviously, this is a little zine that is for people who are interested in space horror. Perhaps if your group hasn't considered a campaign that uses cosmic horror, this would be a really cool setting to introduce them to the idea. There's a lot of themes that this setting has to offer. Questions about empathy, alienation, massive scale, and isolation. The easiest way for you to get a hold of this game is through drivethrurpg.com, where the PDF is only $10. This was a slightly different episode for me today. So I'd like to ask you what you think of pre-written settings in general. Do you enjoy them? Do you want to use them but haven't found one yet? Or are you much more of a home brewer who finds that they've got plenty of ideas by themselves? Let me know your thoughts down in a comment below. I want to say a big thank you at the team of All Must Bow for sending me a copy of this game. They've really made me think about what I can do on this channel and what this format I've created is capable of reviewing. If you enjoyed today's episode, I encourage you to like, subscribe, maybe share with a friend. It just helps me know that I'm doing something you like. I hope you're all well, and I'll see you next time at the gaming table. Bye!